Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I would like to introduce you to Becca's Bookopoly. So I have been struggling for a while to find a way to make my TBR videos exciting, challenging and fun. I wanted something that would push me and would sort of be like a fun game, but I also wanted to fix the thing that I struggled with most in 2018, which was that I didn't feel like I had enough freedom to pick the books I wanted to read each month. I came up with Becca's Bookopoly, which is a good mix of me picking the books that I'm going to be reading, fun challenges and prompts, and it's just going to be like one giant year-long readathon. So first up, what I do have to say about this is that this is a combination of two of my great loves, which is reading and Monopoly. I thought of this idea, I got super excited, I planned it all out and everything. Then I put Bookopoly into YouTube. This is not an original idea, and it is because it came from my brain, but I'm not the first person to do this. I did not watch any of those videos, so I cannot tell you who has done this before me, because to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when I found out that I wasn't the first person to ever do this, but I still wanted to do it and I didn't want their ideas to influence mine. But if you would like similar videos to this, just plug in Bookopoly into the YouTube search engine and I think there's like at least 2 or 3 other people that do something similar to this. However, I do believe that this is slightly different because I think one of the main goals of the other people doing Bookopoly is to read books on their TBR to make money to buy more books. However, I'm just using this to build my TBRs. This is very, very personalized to me. It has a selection of my favorite genres. Not everything is represented on here. It isn't designed to make me read specific books that I don't want to read. It isn't designed to make me save money to buy books. It is just a really fun, challenging way of building TBRs that I hope you guys are going to enjoy. Instead of me just waving this big thing around, I am going to show you exactly what is on every square of this board. So first up, I'm going to go through the obvious ones, which is going to be the property spaces. So the property spaces on this are genres that I have arranged in order of personal preference and the value that I assign to each genre. So the brown section is historical fiction. The light blues, which are purple in this case because I had no light blue paper, are paranormal or magical realism. Pink is contemporary or romance or anything that I kind of justify as being a contemporary. Orange is mysteries or thrillers or crime, anything like that. Reds are young adult fantasy. Yellows are adult fantasy. I have split these into separate things. Obviously fantasy is just one genre, but because I read predominantly fantasy, the books on my shelves and the books I want to read are predominantly fantasy, and so there's 2 separate colours for young adult and adult. Now on this side we have science fiction and we have classics. It is worth noting that classics are not dark blues because I assign so much value to them, but just because people in general assign a lot of value to classic literature, and I do have some that I would like to read. So starting back at the beginning, we'll go through the rest of the spaces. Go is go to Goodreads and randomize your Goodreads TBR. So if I land on this, I will be finding a random number generator, generating a number on Goodreads that is representative of my TBR, and I will be reading that book. If it is not the first book in a series, I will read the first book or whatever book I'm up to in that series. The card spaces are community shelf, which is community chest, and chance, which is obviously chance. I have 2 piles of cards for these. These are the chance cards, and in this stack is a selection of 8 books from my shelf that I really want to read and a selection of 8 books that I'm not as interested in as I was when I purchased them. So if I landed a chance card, I will pull one of these cards and read whatever it tells me to. Now the community shelf cards, this is a stack of 16 challenges that I will have to complete if I land on them. So this is kind of a compilation of all of the best challenges I have seen in 2018. For example, if people have done Goodreads picks my TBR, Twitter picks my TBR, readathon challenges, just all sorts of things inspired by TBR challenges like that. This is like my compilation of my favorite ones, and if I pick one of these, I have to complete the challenge on the card. The 2 tax spaces. Income tax is read a library book, as in your income has been taxed, you're a bit short on cash, get a book from the library. I do tend to always have books from the library out, but if not, I will go and I will select one just for this challenge. And luxury tax is read your most recent purchase, because buying books is a luxury, and so I thought this would help me to get through some of those books that I buy but I don't read straight away. The 4 train stations are representative of settings. So on this side we have fantasy world, so read a book in a fantasy world. Over here we have culturally diverse. Now this can be a culturally diverse contemporary setting, so just set in a different country, or it can be an Asian or Middle Eastern inspired fantasy, just something that has elements of culture that I am personally unfamiliar with. On this side we have dystopian world, so anything apocalyptic. Utopian would also count as this because I don't think there's too many utopian books, but it's the same sort of deal. And the last train station is a UK or US setting, and this is just generally like contemporary real world. I put UK and US because those are the settings that I am most familiar with, and also the setting where most of the books that I own are set. If we work along the ones I haven't explained on this side, this one is viewer recommends. Please excuse my shoddily drawn triangle. Now, I did an entire own TBR video not too long ago, and if you go to that video and put in the comments which of the books you would most like me to read that I own, if I land on this space, I will be heading to the comments of that video and just selecting one, like the first one in the comments that I see that I haven't read. This is the Electric Company, so obviously to read an ebook or audiobook, so digital fiction. I do have Scribd, so these are most likely to be selected from there. On this corner we have read a 5-star prediction. I do have 2 5-star prediction videos that I can pull from. There is a TBR jar associated with this corner, so if I land on this, I will be pulling one of those 5-star predictions out of a TBR jar. The same goes to read outside my comfort zone. Now, this was a last minute addition to the board, so I have not actually made the video for this yet. It should be coming around the 2nd week of January, and these are books that I own that are either unlike anything I have ever read before, or is from some type of genre or format that I'm not too comfortable reading, like this square. It will be a TBR jar sort of situation. And then the last square on the board to explain is the waterworks, and this is to read one of my mum's books. As you guys know, my mum passed away in June of this year, 2018. She was an avid reader, which is why I am an avid reader. So this can be either a book that she has bought for me, a book from my childhood that she has read to me, or one of her books, because we still have like all of her books. So that's gonna be like a little personal emotional one for me. Then obviously the only other things on here are the dice, which I'll be using to roll, and I'm using one of my Selena Happy Hellos as a counter because I couldn't think of anything better. So now let me explain the rules. The first rule is that there are going to be 5 rolls per month. Every roll is going to choose a book. However, like in real Monopoly, if I do roll a double, I have to roll again, and then an extra book will be added to my TBR. I have picked the number 5 because I know for sure that I will be, well, I'm pretty sure that I can get through at least 5 books per month. I typically read somewhere between like 3 being my lowest and 12 being my highest. However, 12 is like the exception, and it's more like 6 to 8 depending on the length and types of the books. So we're gonna have 5 rolls, more if I keep rolling doubles. If I keep rolling doubles, I'm gonna cry. The second thing of note is that every time we start this, we are going to restart the game on the square that we landed on. So we're not gonna start at go every time. When I put up my TBR for February, I will start on the exact same space that I landed on when I did my January TBR. Number 3, I need to think up some sort of punishment if I don't read these books. However, I am going to read them, so that shouldn't be an issue, right? Number 4, a lot of the genres on here are open to interpretation, specifically my interpretation. If there is a book that is for example, a fantasy with heavy sci-fi aspects, and I choose it for the sci-fi genre, that's up to me, still counts, my categorization. Okay, and the last thing that I need to mention before we get into my 5 rolls for January is that I'm going to be taking part in various read-alongs, etc. So what we're going to do in these TBR videos is that I am going to roll the dice, pick my books, show them like in a normal TBR, and then if there are any books that I'm going to be reading for read-alongs in any of the months that I'm going to be doing this project, I will show them to you at the end after we've selected all of the books for the Bookopoly section. So without further ado, let's get into roll 1. So a fantasy world. So roll number 1 landed on fantasy world, and for that I will be reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This was one of my 2018 goals to reread this series, and I did not do it. However, my best friend Ryan is now hosting a read along of the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, which is going to run from January to, I think, June. Like a good best friend, I kind of have to take part. So I'm going to be reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for this challenge. You all know what this is about. I'm not going to waste my time explaining it. However, I am going to say I am going to be reading the second book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, in January, as well, as that goes with the schedule of the read along, because they're 2 very short books. We're just going to do them both in 1 month. Second roll. Oh, a culturally diverse world. The next challenge, to read a book set in a culturally diverse setting, was perfect because I still have The Poppy War out from the library by R.F. Kong. So this is a grimdark fantasy that is based on the rape of Nanking, which is when Japanese soldiers massacred and raped the people of an entire city in China. I believe that this is kind of a retelling or based on that story but set in a fantasy world. I've had this out of the library forever and I did have to get to it soon anyway, so this challenge is absolutely perfect for me to finally read this book. Third roll. A young adult fantasy. One of my favourite genres on the board, young adult fantasy. I'll be reading Hero at the Fall by Alwyn Hamilton. You heard it here first. I am finally going to be finishing the Rebel of the Sands trilogy. Fingers crossed. I like this challenge because this means I have to do it, and like if I only read 5 books in January, they have to be the 5 that I have set out. So Hero at the Fall is finally getting finished. I am so happy to do this because I really love this trilogy. I just keep pushing it back for other books that I'm prioritizing. This follows a young girl called Amani who is from this dusty dead-end town in the desert, and then one day this alluring foreigner swoops in and sort of whisks her away on this life of adventure. Is it a life of adventure? She really just wants to get out of the town, but he's like embroiled in this plot that involves like rebellion and genies and royalty, and it's like super fun and fast-paced, and I love the atmosphere of desert fantasy. Oh, read outside of comfort zone. Okay, so even though I haven't made the video for this, I do have something in mind. Outside of my comfort zone. Like I said when I explained the board, I have not made that video yet, so I can't pull from the TBR jar. I have made like a short list of books for that I'm going to expand upon, but I recently did a post-Christmas shopping trip and I picked up something that was going to be included in that video. So I think now is a perfect time to read it, especially while I'm currently really excited about it. I can't pronounce the name of this book, but I am going to be reading Goyo by Junkie Ito. Now, I went into the comic book store not intending to come away with any manga, but they had a 3 for 2 offer on, so I did pick 3 manga titles. You'll have to wait for my January haul to find out what the other ones were. But when I decided I wanted to pick up a book from this author, I originally wanted Uzumaki. However, they did not have that in stock, so the guy recommended this to me instead. This is the second book in that kind of horror sequence. They're not like a series, I guess they could be considered companion novels, but this one follows a Japanese town or city or something where a giant fish comes out of the water and it has legs. To be honest, this is supposed to be like one of the scariest manga horrors ever. I'm not sure I'm going to be scared of a fish with legs, but I guess we'll find out. So this is my first foray into manga and definitely 100% outside of my comfort zone. And then last roll, my most recent purchase. And then most excitingly, I landed on to read my most recent purchase, and this just happens to be perfect because I know that I'm definitely gonna fly through this TBR. I went back to the comic store after I bought the manga because when I went in, I was looking for a graphic novel series to start because I just read Saga Volume 9, my heart was in tatters, and I saw this on the way out, so I was like, if I don't spend too much money, I'll come back and I'll buy it, and I did. So this is actually literally the last book that I acquired from my collection, not in the same transaction as the manga, literally this is it. And this is Isola by Brendan Fletcher and Carl Kerschel. The absolute stunning artwork on the cover of this is what drew me in, and also a glowy tiger, and it's turquoise. I like turquoise. So what I know about this is that this is a high fantasy and it follows a guy who is on a mission to get his queen to a mythical place called Isola. I don't know why he's on that mission, but the art is absolutely stunning, and if you guys know me, you know that I am so fussy about graphic novel artwork, which I shouldn't be, but I can't help it, I just am. So those were my picks for Bookopoly. I just have 2 more books to talk about. The first one is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I am only really going to attempt to start this in January, and that is because I am hosting a Game of Thrones read-along. I will put the announcement video in the cards if you would like to join, so you can go check that out. But we are reading 1 book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series every 2 months. I'm pretty confident that I can read this in a month, but I want to at least start it in January just in case I can't. I don't know how dense they are, I don't know how slow paced they are, so I want to give myself a head start just to make sure that I do get it done in time for the live show, especially as it's my read-along. That would be really embarrassing. Once again, don't feel like I need to tell you what A Game of Thrones is about. You are pretty familiar with it, I'm sure. store. Super excited to get into this one. Super excited to read some more adult fantasy. And then following on from my 2019 goals, I did say I was going to be rereading the Hunger Games for the Hunger Along, hosted by the beautiful Readalong from Crescent Moon Reads. So I'm going to be reading this one in January as well. I'm pretty sure I can get through this pretty quickly. I remember it being super compelling and fast paced, and I'm really excited to see what I think of it now as an adult, because I read these when I was maybe 17. And as you guys know, this follows Katniss. There's an arena, they all fight to the death. You know what the Hunger Games is. So that is everything for my January TBR. Please let me know what you think of Bookopoly, because in my head it's this like amazing idea, and I know I have been hyping it up a lot and then I regretted it in case it just flops and you all hate it. So please let me know what you think of these videos, the formatting, any way I can improve them. But that is everything from me today. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to. If you head to my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.